Good morning, Christina. Here is the machine, the Breville Barista Express BES870. As it's on the photos, this is a silver unit. It comes with the basic accessories, so it comes with obviously the portafilter and the tamper, which should be right here, and a few baskets and cleaning tools. The machine is fully refurbished, so I've done a full clean and service on it. Works absolutely perfectly now. And cosmetically, honestly, it's not too bad. I mean, just like pretty much every used machine out there. It's got some scratches around the front, some small dings, but not too bad, honestly. And it's now turned on, so usually it takes about a minute to turn on. In the video, I'm going to be making a coffee, so probably a latte, which is what I do every morning. When you see the buttons light up, that means it's ready to go. So it's ready to make a coffee, but to make a really good coffee, it's better to warm it up. So you can either warm up the machine by letting it sit for 10 or 20 minutes, maybe even put your cups up here so that they can get warm as well, 10 or 20 minutes. But if you're in a hurry, you don't want to wait that long, you can just run a blank shot. And a blank shot is pretty much just a shot of hot water going through the machine, through the portafilter, and into the cup, so that all these components get nice and warm for us. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to press the double. Perfect. Just pouring my milk. So you can do this once or twice. Let's do it with a single button now. Yeah, now the cup is nice and hot. The portafilter is nice and hot as well, which is very good for our coffee. Next, I will be taking out the portafilter and giving it a good wipe. You want it to be dry before grinding the coffee so that the coffee doesn't get saturated with water as it's ground into the portafilter. I will be using a scale for this video just to be consistent and show you what 18 grams or what 40 grams looks like, because this machine is recommended to use 18 grams of ground coffee into the double basket, and in terms of the coffee output, it should be about 40 grams for a double shot single cup. Or let's say for a double shot, honestly. Okay, so turn on my scale, make sure it's zeroed. Perfect. I've just changed the grind size, so I've put it to number 6 now. So let me just purge a bit of the coffee so that the old coffee is removed. So every time you change the grind size, make sure you turn on the grinder for a few seconds, 2 or 3 seconds, just to get rid of the old batch or the old grind size. So that when you grind into the portafilter now, it's a fresh quantity of coffee, or fresh dose of coffee. Okay, 0. You can put it on double or single. I used to in the past I used to put it on single and put it at a setting that gives me about 9 grams, so that if I do it twice I get a total of 18. And I like to do it in 2 steps, just because it sort of eliminates the possibility of coffee spilling over. Because when you grind it once, press it with the tamper and then grind it again, you're less likely to spill. Right. I'm going to put it on double just for the sake of the video. Let's put it at about 1 o'clock position on the grinder mount, the double selection, and again, grind size number 6. And I've got some beans in the hopper. Should be enough for a coffee or two. some grounds dripping over the sides, but not too bad. There is a trick that people use, which is to shake the portafilter as the coffee is, you know, going down into the portafilter. Shaking it will sort of help the coffee settle. But yeah, so this is 17.8 grams. Perfect. I think I'm going to keep it there. I'm not going to get rid of any coffee. This is what it looks like when you press it down. It should be much lower. So I'm just going to remove any excess. I'm going to grab my tamper. Before you tamp, I forgot to say this, you want to distribute the coffee. So if it's sort of like a hill or a mountain of coffee, you want to flatten it and sort of fill in the gaps before you press. You want to start on an even surface so that when you press, it's an even surface later on. Okay. Yeah, just like that. Yeah, this looks pretty good. You will realize that when you tamp it down and you have the correct amount of coffee, the depth that you tamp, or the depth that you can tamp, is the same as the silver part. So if you have the correct amount of coffee, 18 grams for this double basket, and you go to tamp with decent force, the tamper goes as deep as the silver part. So as you see, it's just like that. Not too high, not too low. So that's telling me that I have the correct amount of coffee. So if you're in a hurry, or if you don't have a scale, you don't want to measure the coffee, just put enough coffee grounds so that when you tamp and you're done, and you twist it, you take it out, you realize that it's the same depth as this silver part on the tamper. I think that makes sense. Then clean the edges, make sure there's no coffee grounds, and lock it in. So you don't have to lock it in all the way, so maybe only in the middle, because the rubber seal is actually pretty good. You don't have to over tighten it. Maybe in a few years you might have to push it a bit more to the right, but for now I think it's tight enough at the center position. Okay, so here's my hot water. I'm going to get rid of that. You also have a hot water tap over here if you wanted to make a long black coffee, or if you wanted to warm up the mugs beforehand. You just use the hot water tap. It'll give you fresh hot water from the boiler. Yeah. Before I begin, I like to add a bit of sugar to my coffee, so I'm going to grab my sugar. Just like I measured the input, which is 18 grams, I want to measure the output. So usually it's a doubling game, sort of. You want to get 2 grams for every gram of ground coffee. So 2 grams of espresso for every gram of coffee. Right. And double of 18 is about 36, even 40 is okay. So I want to get approximately 35 to 40 grams of coffee. Now, from just judging by eye, I thought I kind of know what 40 grams looks like, but if you don't, you might need a scale. So that's why I'm going to use the scale to show you and confirm that we have the correct amount of coffee. Turn on my scale. Let's press the double button and see what we get. These are usually programmed from Breville. I think this is programmed at 20 or 40, and this is maybe 40 or 60. It depends on the grind size, honestly. So we'll press the double and see how we go. You want the pressure gauge to be nice in the middle. You can time the shot as well to see how good you did. So pressure is a bit too high, so we're getting about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock pressure. That's telling me that my grind size is a bit too fine. But I'll let the machine go. We'll see how it goes. It might give us a bit too much coffee, because this is for 2 cups. yeah, stop there. I think that's about 40 or 50 grams. So that was about 40 seconds. So it's a bit too long of a shot. Yeah, that's 50. That's exactly 50 grams of coffee. So it's a bit too much coffee for the amount of coffee we put in. What we want to do now is, because the pressure was a bit too high, we will increase the grind size from 6 to maybe 7 or 8. I'm gonna put it on 8 and let you figure it out, because different beans obviously have different settings that are required. So because I changed the grind size now, I'm gonna grind a bit, so about 2 seconds. So get rid of the old grind size, and now from now on, every time I'm grinding, I'm gonna get grind size 8 coffee. Okay, so it's a bit coarser, obviously. Smaller number means finer particles or smaller particles. Bigger number means bigger particles. So grind size 8 is a bit. Grind size 8 will make the coffee flow a bit more quickly. So just to summarize what we just did, we did the double shot. Pressure was a bit too high at about, what was that, 2 o'clock. So we should hopefully next time get about, between 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock, sort of in the top. That's better for the machine, and that's better for the coffee, obviously. The coffee ran a bit too long, 50 grams. Maybe next time you can try to use the single cup as opposed to the double cup, or just reprogram the machine to give you a 40 gram dose. You can easily reprogram. The way you can do that is you press program, and then you press any button that you want to program. So let's say we want to program the single. We press the single, the machine will start making coffee, and then once we're happy with the volume, we press it again, and it will remember and save that setting. Okay, I'm not going to be programming it for now. Let's clean it. So when you take out the portafilter, you'll see that sometimes the coffee cake or the coffee grounds will be stuck up there. That's fine. Knock it off. It falls off really easily off the basket because of the design of the machine. You want to give it a rinse. So I like to rinse it over here because this will clean the machine and the portafilter. So press the double. Just like that. Nice and clean. You can even grab a tissue and wipe off any grounds or oils that are stuck up there. As you see, there always will be some, so it's a good habit to pick up, so that you keep the machine nice and healthy. You don't want coffee grounds to be sort of building up in the grip seal, otherwise it'll just it'll erode quickly and you'll have to change the grip head seal soon. Yeah, dry the portafilter as well, make sure it's clean. Then you don't have to lock it in all the way if it's for storage or overnight, so just a bit like that. So the next time you turn it on, it's nice and hot when you turn on the machine. Okay, enough talking, let's do the milk. So being a single boiler, you have to turn on the steamer and wait. It's not too long, it's about 10-15 seconds before you can start steaming, which is pretty quick for a single boiler machine. Some machines take like 2 or 3 minutes to start steaming, so this is pretty good. So once you start getting a decent amount of steam, you want to turn it off. Grab your milk jug, fill it about halfway with cold milk, obviously, and then position it. And now you want to spin the milk. So the technique that I'm using is keeping the jug at an angle, spinning the milk inside the jug, and keeping the tip slightly close to the surface so that it injects air as it as it spins the milk. This will give you that creamy, frothy texture. And depending on the depth that you put the wand at, it'll give you more or less froth or bubble amount. So for a latte, it's not too bubbly, it's usually on the flatter end of the scale. I'm going to stop it when my jug is too hot to touch. Right about there. The machine will now cool down. It will purge water into the boiler to cool it down. It's important to wipe the wand straight away and give it a purge as well. So just turn it on, just to get rid of any milk on the inside. You don't want the milk to block the hole, otherwise next time you use the machine, you won't be getting any steam. So just turn it on to unblock. And yeah. I presume it wants to cool down now, so turn it back on. Turn the steam. And turn it back to coffee mode. It wants to cool down so that you're ready to make another coffee. Yeah, so when you turn it off, obviously the boiler is really hot, so it'll cool down again. Yeah, when you see the buttons light up, that means you're ready to make another coffee. You don't have to manually purge the boiler. Make sure you wipe all the sides of the wand. People always, I've seen a lot of people that forget the back side as well, because you see the front and like, oh, it's clean, but then the back is dirty as well. So make sure you clean it all around. Great. I think this is a really good shot. We had a good amount of crema, even though it was a bit too long of a shot. It still tasted really good. And now for the milk, you want to knock the jug down on the counter to break any bubble, and then swirl it around to mix it up. Do this a few times until the surface is nice and smooth. We may be getting a cappuccino and not really a latte, just because the froth is so frothy. But yeah, it depends on your technique. If you keep the tip very close to the surface, it'll give you much more air and it will make it more volumetric of a drink. But if you keep it deeper into the milk, it won't give it as much froth and it will be sort of a flatter drink. And then yeah, I'm sure with some practice you can do latte art. I don't usually bother just because I'm more focused about the taste rather than the looks. But I understand that the eye eats before the mouth, so it's good to practice latte art. It always looks cute when you get it right. So here's my drink. It has a good amount of crema, froth. It looks pretty good. I don't know if that's a heart or whatever, but yeah, that's what it looks like. I'm sure you can do better drinks than me. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the machine. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. And I'll see you tomorrow, Sunday. Cheers.